Anyway, let's start right here. Runner number 1, a blow through.
Oh my God!
So yes, runner number 1 is kind of a primary focus, just like runner 5, and I already went over 5. So runner number 1, just like 5, is the other extreme dog leg, right? This is mostly done. I cut back this inside wall as much as possible. Like, there's a ton of metal here. Like, that's like, I don't know. It's almost like half an inch. It's pretty close. Of course, I don't have anything around here, but... So that's just within this solid wall. So you could... It seems to me like you could take this as far back as you want, to the point where... And I don't know, maybe the most extreme examples do start to eat into this, is eliminating most of this wall. So I don't know, but again, this is mostly done. I think that looks nice and pretty. You have a little, that's part of the factory shape. So for a rectangular port, you know, taking your burr, and it looks a little rounder because of that, but there's a little less edge to it than stock. So let's look at this blow through. So yeah, unlike the top side, where that's deliberate to get over as far as possible, this was not exactly intentional. So, oh nice, I do have enough light. I was like, I can't double hand this. So, if I could show you before and after, you would see how much more of the port entry we can see now down to the floor. Like, you can almost basically see the left side, well, right where we're looking, but from the top would be the left side. See how you can see the trench if you follow the line? The stock casting, I mean, that almost comes to the middle of the floor. It's pretty intense. So that's a huge difference. I want to say at least 1/8 of an inch, or 125 thousandths, but probably upward of 150 has been shaved off. So then, you know, what happens is you get in a habit, and you'll see this on every porter's work, because normally you make your trench line as a guide for how far you're going to go, and then you're just blending it in. But it is easy to, like, get back in the trench and be, like, going back and forth. And I started to get, if you've never done this before, I'm sure like anyone that has is familiar with this, especially if you're taking something to the limit, is you get these little, sometimes you'll get them because of the burr, right? You'll get like little spider web, or, well, not spider web, but like you'll see these little hairlines, and sometimes it'll happen even when there's plenty of metal and the burr just hit it the wrong way. And then I saw that there, and I saw, because it was a dip, I had a feeling. And the thing is like, I wasn't paying attention to the runner from the bottom. So that's something you always want to look at, is where you have, I don't know what that's considered. I mean, that's more than 3/8. But basically, always pay attention to that. Like, obviously here, you can blow through the top corner, like there. But then next to that, that's just thick metal. It's just one big cast piece. So, like, here would be a little different where it dips in. But the funny thing is I was like, I kept trying to probe in this water behind the thermostat, like, oh, how thick is that? And I'll do like finger tests, because I'll do that even with my E7s. I can get my pinky, because when you're carving the side of the exhaust bowl, where the direction of the exhaust goes, like, you can just get a pinky in, and metal, it can definitely be deceptive, but if I take a finger and feel that hole, like, you can definitely feel where it's thin there, you know what I mean? But then you move a little further up and it's that much thicker. But to your naked eye, that metal looks like the same depth. So that was actually kind of accidental. At the same time, it's not a huge deal. The regular professional JB weld is good up to 500 degrees. This isn't really going to see more than that much more than 200. Whoops, of course, it's got uncured epoxy on it, but I've got tons of that. And then that'll mix up with the aluminum. And so that'll be fine. And I did read enough, like, you know, look at enough research on forums and people using it in an oily situation, obviously above the lifter valley. Thank God I degreased the shit out of this thing, you know, because if this were still caked, that would really suck if I had to start from scratch. Obviously, it needs to be cleaned up more. But that's a nice little pocket. Like, I could probably just fill a whole glob of weld right here, and this wall will help keep it solid. So it's not really a big deal, and I may put, you know, put an extra layer behind it. Just, you know, I think this is a lot thicker, but it's not a big deal. But it is funny because you still have that, oh shit, like I just turned this into nothing. Not true at all. And this thing is already like Chuck E. Cheese, Swiss cheese. So it's like, so you know it's going to be a lot of fun. What are we looking at now? So again, the left bank, I think it looks nice and pretty. Mostly have the final finish on there. I always do that between sessions, just so that I can get an idea of what it looks like. I'm going to try to show this on all angles, so while it's here, do you have enough light for this? So runner 1, and these aren't like 100% complete, especially 3 isn't cleaned up, but you can see on the left toward the roof, I started to take the wall back a little bit there, mostly just cleaned up to the right, but obviously that's another dog leg that was turned into a hole. 3, just some cleanup. I have opened up the sides a little bit more. 4, maybe some more off the inside wall toward there. But that dog leg looks pretty good. I think that wall can come down a little more, but so pretty close. Now let's look at it upside down. To get a better idea. So there's 4 again, nice and opened up. Or no, I'm going backwards here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 again, the dog leg, and you can see how much that took off there. Like, that's nice and open. 2, 3, which is the straight port. And then 4 is pretty well blended. See, I'm filming with my actual video camera instead of my phone, so I don't have a light on the phone, which really comes in handy. But yeah, it's just, like I said, it's a lot of voodoo. Like, you're not really going to mic it out. I just kind of, you know, feel it out, feel how much of a turn it has to use, flatten that turn out. But really, again, I feel like it's 1 in 5 are the only ones where you have to stop and think or know something. The other thing about blowing through is, again, why that wasn't intentional, is when I did that and realized, hey, you know, you can epoxy the bottom. The thing is, the roof, I'm pretty certain, is more important as far as where the air is. So, like, you start thinking, oh, if I did that there, all of these are open, why can't I just straighten this even more and epoxy here, like at the apex, wherever the worst part is. Like, right here would be a nice section, but I don't know if it's really worthwhile to do that. Like, right here would be nice if you could get on the inside. But because of being on the roof and this being the floor, like, I don't know if it's as necessary as these holes in that roof corner. So there's 5. I did work a little bit more on blending 5. So I don't know how I'm telling you. It should be 5-minute videos and just ends up ridiculous. So obviously I haven't totally cleaned up. There's still some crud on the top of the right bank. You zoom out a little. But yeah, so that's kind of all that's been going on with this. I cut a little more on the inside, like, because then when you look from the exit, it's easier to see, but to kind of straighten these out, I'm going to go through all the ceilings and make sure that all of that's taken care of. But as far as like the offset and what you can see from like the center of entry to the center of exit is, or if you want to refer to it as like a window, that's definitely improved a lot. So the other thing too is like being a person where, especially if you're like me, you don't have a flow bench, there's no final or no finite measurements for you to chase, is the reality in this build is just getting to over 200 CFM on average per runner, which is not astounding. Like, it's a typical GT40 or so, or maybe like the single throttle body Edelbrock Performer or something like that. So even if I can't reach like well over 200, which it probably realistically won't, it's still a huge improvement. But the thing is, the heads, using ported stock valve E7s are only going to flow so much, but I still think they're going to hit my power goal. So if you have like a similar goal like me, I think, doing it up like this is probably good without, again, being able to perfect it, without having done other ones and being able to flow that, or without anyone really sharing the truck intake. So this is the best that I can do. So don't sue me if you try to clone this exactly and like your truck either underperforms in the 8th mile or a dyno or something. But I do stop and I do get as much expert advice to the point where I feel annoying as possible. And just so that I'm not wasting my time, if people are willing to help you, take it and then take your time. But it becomes like fundamental things the more that you learn about the science of intake manifolds. Like, you don't have to know how to plug in, like I said, like RAM theory or Helmholtz resonator theory, stuff like that, like all the stuff that goes into it. But it does help with any intake manifold just to know some general principles, like, a sharp turn, you do this or that, and just kind of straightening out dog legs. And that it isn't like, I just get a bigger gasket, or I get like a 1262R and I just open that up. Because there's still dynamics that are important, like cross-section. Luckily, the long runners are higher velocity anyway. So I feel like you can really just kind of open these up. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty confident. Like, if I could flow this on a bench, like, hopefully I wouldn't be disappointed. If I have time, like, yeah, I'd love to send it to someone when I'm certain I'm done. And then even if there's more to be done, getting feedback, you hit here, but if you like, I mic'd this out, and if you carve more there, you'll open up this much CFM potentially. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing, but I also have to get this thing together. And I'm confident. Like, it's like anything, anything that you're building, any machine, there's a lot of certainty, some guesswork or principles here and there. But it comes down to like applied science and just getting it running, and you have to kind of be like, all right, I hope this does well. It's like folding a paper airplane properly. Like, you may know, oh, I do this fold and this fold, but sometimes like creases are everything where it is. So that's probably the best analogy for doing this kind of thing. And you know, I feel like truck stuff is more rare, so that's another reason why I show this stuff. And hey, if you're going to do forced induction, or if you can actually fit like an old power dyne in your F-150, like definitely do this and open up a lot more power potential. But other than that, I should be done with this. I know I wasn't going to make another one, but I wanted to show the blow through and just kind of say it's not really a big deal. But hey, if anyone has flow numbers or has done an F-150 and you know the secret, or if that's a complete farce that someone is getting those kind of numbers out of this runner, please feel free to chime in. But I think I did okay. There's like, if I can cut back more and it's going to give more CFM, you bet your ass I'm going to cut some more material, but I'm kind of being a little cautious with that at that stage, just looking at, you know, the width at this point. So anyway, before I try and talk for 20 more minutes, I'm going to wrap that up here. Hopefully, like I said, the next video will be nice showroom quality, and then I'm going to get back to the heads. Like I said, I don't remember where I left off, but I'm going to work on finishing those. I've still got to do the chambers. So they're mostly done. I'm pretty sure most of the rough cutting, because all the intakes are basically done. Most of the exhaust work is done, so I've just got to go back and take a look at that. And then the whole top end of this 306 is ready. Oh, I've got to look at there's the plenum. I've still got to finish a little bit up in the throttle body elbow there, but those are basically good to go. So the whole top end ready to go. We've still got snow on the ground. We got like over a foot of snow the other day, so unfortunately I can't build the engine inside here because the way that this garage ramps in and then goes down and out, I just don't trust build as much as I would love to be already assembling the engine. The other thing is I've really got to clean the block again, and I don't really, there's no way to really kind of get wet in here. So it just needs a really nice kind of once over and stuff like that. And then I want to check the cam bearings, make sure they haven't gotten scratched, because that'll suck if I have to, you know, put new cam bearings in. Other than that, it's kind of like then waiting for weather. Maybe I'll get back into a little woodwork and stuff, because I can't, it's just too wintry to really be touching the van at this point. And but having stuff in line, allowing myself a little bit of breathing room and be like, hey, the engine's ready to bolt together, is also really helpful just to decompress, because I know it's going to get pretty crazy even though I'm that much closer. So, and hopefully at some point this channel you'll be able to see the whole 6 years worth of work. So anyway, I'm out of here. Take her easy.